Good evening, everyone. The Bamberg School District 1 Board of Trustees meeting is being called to order. Today's date is Monday, September 20th, 2021, and it is 6:30 p.m. Board members, you have had the opportunity to receive and review the agenda prior to tonight's meeting. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval of the agenda?
Madam Chairman, there's no change to accept the agenda as written.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we accept the agenda as it's been written. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approval of the agenda as it's been written, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion passes. Down to item number 3 on the agenda, which is approval of the minutes for August 16, 2021. Board members, you had an opportunity to receive and review the meeting minutes for that date. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to approval?
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we approve the minutes as they've been presented. Is there a second? Second. All right, we have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of approval of the minutes, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We are down to item number 4, which is school reports, and we will start with Dr. Chastity Evans with Richard Carroll Elementary School.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How's everybody doing?
Great, how are you?
I am fabulous.
Good.
All of my data has changed since this was printed, so bear with me for just a second.
Okay.
So our current enrollment is actually 638. Instead of being one up, we're actually one down since last month, as of this afternoon about 4:30. Our COVID information, currently we don't have any teachers isolated, and we're down to 3 students. However, the quarantine students have gone up a little bit. They're now at 35. We've only had 3 discipline incidents documented in Power School so far this year. None of them have been anything really major, just kind of minor stuff that we've been dealing with. Mr. Smith and I have put a huge emphasis on being in classrooms this year. We've made it a top priority. And so as of today, we have done 28 walkthroughs together. And we're spending a lot of time in classrooms, getting to know the kids, getting to know the teachers. Since we're both new in that building, we really wanted to make sure that we, knew what was going on in the building. So that's why that's on there, because we felt like it was really important to us. We sent home interim reports last Thursday to all parents. And then the only upcoming events in the next couple weeks is that we have School Picture Day on the 30th. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Can you, what was the reason for the change in the number of students?
The number of students, the enrollment?
Yeah, the enrollment.
We just 2 moved out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions?
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Next, we have Denise Miller with Bamberg Earhart Middle School. Good evening.
Good evening, hello, how's everyone?
Great, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good. My data's changed a little bit too, I'll point it out as we get there. So right now we have 186 students. Whole study, we still have them coming and going. I think we said last time we were here that after Labor Day we're having people come down from the north and some people go away, so. And number 2, confirmed cases. The last thing that you have on your form said we had 6 at the end of the week of September 6th. I am proud to say that we had 2 after the end of last week. I hope that we are turning a corner. We have most of our students back in the building. I have 1 staff member in quarantine. So once again, I hope and I pray that we are turning a corner.
Mrs. Miller, can I clarify that with me again? As far as your numbers are concerned?
I have 2 students that are positive cases,
Okay.
and I have 1 staff member that's in quarantine.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have next to that 7 students that's changed?
So the end of the week of September the 6th, we had 6 students who COVID.
Okay.
And then the following week now, which is not on your form, the week of September the 13th, we have 2.
2, good,
Yes.
thank you. All right.
We issued progress reports on September the 13th. The progress reports were sent, they were emailed, and they were posted to Power School for our parents. We've scheduled open house. We were optimistic about it, but due to COVID, we canceled it, and hopefully we'll look forward to doing it again in the spring. I do have a praise report for our athletics team, our football team. Thus far, they are 2-0 under Coach Travis Wilson. We won against Clark, and Clark usually gives us their best, and we won against them 30-0. They were bigger, but we were better.
Great.
And then again this week, we won against HKT 38-0 in the 4-down range. So I'm very proud of our boys and our coaching staff. And then the last time I checked, our volleyball team was 0 wins, 1 loss. COVID is impacting athletics because we're having to change based upon what other teams are encountering.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Miller? All right, thank you so much. Next up, we have Mr. Denny Ulmer with Bamberg Earhart High School.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
Good. Another fantastic Monday over at Bamberg Earhart High School.
That's right.
Currently, we have 351 students enrolled. I didn't give any numbers for COVID because I knew it would probably change, but as of this afternoon when I left, we had 2 positive cases. No teachers are being isolated or quarantined at this time, so my full staff in the building. Last week, we map tested on the 14th and 15th. Got that knocked out. Progress reports will send home on September 15th. Tomorrow, we will have a college application day here in the library. We have several colleges that will have representatives here at the school that will help our kids fill out applications. So, and all of our seniors will have a chance to come through here tomorrow and take part of that. The ASVAB will be administered on the 22nd. Any students interested in joining the military and is 16 years or older can take this entrance exam for the U.S. military. And every year I get this question, what does ASVAB stand for? It is the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. So I always have to make sure I write that down so I can get it right. But it's just it measures the strengths and potential for success in the military. So we usually have about 30 kids take part of that test. And they have an opportunity to take it several times throughout the year, kind of like the SAT, to kind of improve their scores. So our after-school program will start on the 27th of September. And that's all I got. Does anybody have any questions about what's going on at Bamberg Earhart High School?
The results of math testing, the results.
Oh, there is. As soon as they take them, those results are generated. All the teachers have access to those map scores. We had a really, this year we did a little different. We have homeroom first period. So we tested during, not first period, it is our first period. Today we have homeroom. It's actually our 0 period. But we kept all of our kids. Now we have Chromebooks, we're able to all get in there in classes. When we felt like we had a marked improvement this year on our map test, kids actually took time to take the map test this year. And in the past, kids like to fly through these map tests because there's really no implications as to how they do on them other than we're able to use them as a diagnostic tool to measure growth throughout the school year and to compare our kids with other kids in the building and with other students across the state. So,
I think he asked, or you asked about the scores, the results of them.
I did.
Is that, okay. We don't have the results yet. The students get their individual scores right then. However, the map window is called a test window. It is still open because we're still doing makeup testing across the district. When that window closes, Ms. Tucker will close out, we'll be able to get these comparative scores that Mr. Ulmer's talking about. So we'll leave that open for possibly 1 more week before we'll be able to generate score reports to show each kid in comparison to their peers.
and parents have access to them if they're requesting.
So by next month, they can give y'all the results of the map testing, how the kids did.
The after-school program, what is available in that program? Are all the teachers
We're looking at our
available?
core stuff right now. We're looking at our midterm grades that went out last week, trying to generate numbers for kids that need to participate. We're going to ask them to sign up. We're going to offer we're gonna try to offer, biology. We're gonna try to offer those things that are EOC tested. And we're gonna look at numbers basically to see how many teachers we need to serve those kids. We're gonna try to offer transportation for those kids too, after school to get them home after school. We did it last year. We made kids go. If you stayed, you had to go to 2 different help sessions. Most people who are not doing well in one subject are not doing well in multiple subjects. So trying to get those kids involved, try to kind of get ahead of the curve. Again, EOCs, biology 1, English 2, algebra 1, intermediate, U.S. history. Those are our EOCs that we offer here, or we offer across the state.
And do they have to be filling in order to participate in it?
No, they don't. But we are asking them to sign up for it so we can account for how many kids we need, and we can work on transportation, get all that lined up. I've also been asked to do the athletic report. Mr. Williams is,
And the cross country.
we got cross country going on tonight and volleyball going on tonight, and we're supposed to have tennis going on tonight, but it's not real good tennis weather out there tonight. So, volleyball, our varsity volleyball team is off to a 5-2 start. We're 4-1 in region. JV volleyball team is 2-1, but the B team is 0-1. These girls continue to improve and get better every match. The girls tennis team is 1-0 in the season. We've had several matches that have been canceled because of rain or rescheduled, and once again, COVID has a heavy impact on all of these schedules because it's not just us that we have to play around COVID, it's other schools too. So, matter of fact, tonight's game was a rescheduled game in Williston, and we're supposed to play Barnwell tomorrow night, and things aren't looking real good for that either. So, football, our varsity team is 3-0 on the season. Middle school is 2-0. As Ms. Miller proudly explained earlier. These guys continue to work hard and have high expectations as the year continues. We play, got Allendale this week off. Cross country, the boys and girls cross country teams have completed in 3 meets this year. Each meet, the team times have improved from the previous meet. These teams continue to train and prepare for the state meet. Our cross-country team has made a marked improvement too. So, schedules are changing almost daily due to teams having quarantine. We try to keep the changes and post them on our website and our Facebook page. So, if you do decide to go to a meet or track, it might be a good idea to at least call the high school first and make sure that it is where it's supposed to be, when it's supposed to be. Just like I said, things do change on a daily basis, and sometimes it's not until late in the afternoon before we know. And our homecoming has been rescheduled for October 8th against Branksville. And we're trying to get that information out there. So it's the 8th against Branksville.
Okay.
I'll try to answer any questions about our athletics stuff as I can if you have any.
No?
Okay?
All right. Thank you. Okay, so board members, that was item number 5, which is the athletic updates. We were down to item number 6 on the agenda, which is student staff recognition and superintendent's report. And I'll turn that over to Mrs. Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. I hope all of you are as well. Okay, so in your handout, I've provided you with several things. I know it's lots of information, and I'll try to make it as short and sweet as possible and answer any questions you may have at the same time. So first, I'll start off with, in your package, you have from the South Carolina School Board Association, the letter notifying you of the votes that you are afforded to participate in the delegate assembly. Ms. Moody has the original copies already signed. So when you guys decide who will be the delegate and the alternate, the board chairperson has to sign this, so Ms. Moody will have that as you all talk and decide who you can send to that assembly to vote on behalf of Bamberg School Board 1.
Before we do that, does anyone want to volunteer?
What is that?
This is for being a delegate at the assembly in, I think it's December. Saturday, December.
Plan on going to the.
It's in December, right?
December.
Yeah,
I'm not
December
sure if I'll be
4th.
going, that's usually the first weekend in Russell.
I can,
Tony? Okay, you want to be an alternate?
I can be alternate.
Okay, so Tony Duncan will be, the delegate, and Naomi Eccles will be the alternate. All right, thank you.
Second in your packet. The South Carolina School Board Association is aware that a number of school districts, a number of school boards, of course, are in disagreement with the finance proviso that was passed prohibiting schools and districts from mandating masks. They feel like that should be at the local level. This was sent out on behalf of the South Carolina School Board Association as a template for a resolution that if our board is in agreement and wish to participate with other districts that wanted to send this to their delegates, they provided this for us, and all that is required. If you agree and want to ask the legislators to reconsider that proviso or to repeal that proviso and return that decision back to the local level, that this should be signed by the board members and returned to South Carolina School Board and to our delegates, which would be done after you all assign it. But that is, of course, voluntary, and if you guys wish to participate in that.
Board members, your thoughts on that? You've had an opportunity to review it.
The proviso, it specifically says that you cannot require masks, or that say that
It
the
does.
board cannot decide.
And they
whether-
slid that under a finance proviso that school districts are prohibited from requiring students or staff to wear masks inside the buildings. Now, the proviso was passed originally that included school buses, but the new proviso for buses now allows us to require masks on buses. Actually mandates that we require masks on buses. So that has been undone, and now they're asking for school boards to advocate, lobby to your legislators to repeal that finance proviso that prohibits us from mandating masks
In school.
in school buildings, yes.
I think that we should consider it, because I don't think that it should be based on, it should be based on what the numbers are, and to take away finance from that for us trying to keep the kids safe, I don't agree with that.
Right.
Does this have to be passed by the entire school board, or can just individuals sign it who support it?
When they gave us the template, the only signature that was on the template was board chairperson. However, in the email that we received, it said your board members should sign. And because it said board members, we added the additional line to the board members. But I do not think that it matters. I think it's the lead person that has to sign it to represent the board would be the board chair.
Like a tit for tat. You don't do this, you do that.
My opinion is I think that should be local control and local decisions as your numbers change. I didn't like the fact they slid that proviso in there in the finance proviso. Kind of slid that through. And it took away our local control to make those
I don't have a
decisions.
problem with it, that the board will, make that decision
Yeah.
on the local level.
Okay.
That's my opinion. So if you wish to participate, Ms. Walker can pass it around for all of you to sign. Each of you get a copy, so you can keep a copy to know what it was you were signing. But you can pass that back to Ms. Moody, and we can get that where it needs to go. It will go to Justin Bamberg, Brad Cutto, and a copy to the South Carolina School Board Association Secretary. All right, next, I provided to you last week, DHEC, following our superintendent symposium meeting in Columbia, DHEC then issued new guidance for schools. I wanted to make sure all of you had a copy of that. This is also on our website. A couple of changes in here. One in particular, it has more guidelines for who to quarantine, who not to quarantine, but probably most notably in this document is that it provides guidance for districts and superintendents to consider, school boards to consider when trying to decide whether to close a school or multiple schools or the district due to COVID numbers. So just wanted to make sure you all have a copy of the new guidance from DGAP that we are now adhering to, or trying to follow to the best of our ability. Next in your handouts for me, I know you heard all of the principals give you updates on enrollment, but I thought I would again, like last year, provide you periodically with your 3-year trend data and enrollment for the whole district in grades K through 12. This was ran last Friday morning about 11 o'clock, and as you heard the principal say, I normally fluctuate by a few every day, so they come and go every day. But as of last Friday, you can see we had 1177 enrolled. And then, of course, you can see where we were in comparison in 2020 this time, 2019 at this time, and 2018. And then, these have been made public in your handouts I provided you with. As you are aware, every school in our district gets a school report card. The district also receives a school report card, district's report card. I wanted to provide you with, I didn't give you every school, those can be found on the website, those can be found on the school districts, on the school's website. But I wanted to give you a copy of the districts and just bring a couple of things to your attention. If you look at page 2, these are the areas where the districts are assessed. South Carolina ELA and math. Those are for your grades 3 through 8 participate in South Carolina Ready and South Carolina Pass. But as you can see, across the district, we have 33.5% either meeting or exceeding the standards, and in mathematics it's 29.1. We're still lagging behind across the district in math, but I will say that that's a state trend as well. Students across the state tend to score lower in math than they do the reading. But your end of course test, of course, that's taken at the end of English 2 now and Algebra 1. But they report on students scoring C or higher. So you can see how we're doing in relation to the state. I'm excited to report that we're just slightly lagging behind in ELA, but we are exceeding the state average in algebra. So where our students, what I find interesting is at the lower grades in 3 through 8, we're not doing so well in mathematics. But at the high school, they're making up ground there and exceeding the state average and passing, scoring C or better on the end of course test. So I would like to commend all of the teachers for trying to make up that ground and make up for students' deficits in math, but particularly the middle school and high school teachers, mathematics teachers. Because I will say, from personal knowledge, I know that they work hard in tutoring these kids during school, after school, before school, particularly in the area of mathematics. So, just some things we'll continue to work on, areas of academic achievement. Of course, keeping our focus on our district strategic plans and our school strategic plans. Always trying to improve academic achievements for our students. All right. Next in your packet, and I also wanted to talk about roundtables, professional development for staff. All of you are aware that we participate in the Salvation Consortium. Roundtables have begun monthly for the superintendents, the principals, the assistant principals, and right on down the line. So lots of professional development opportunities being shared by all. I would like to say that on September the 1st, I had the unfortunate decision to make. We had to close due to COVID numbers among staff and students, primarily because of staff. I would like to say to parents and the community listening, those decisions to close our schools do not come lightly. But when we are short bus drivers, cafeteria workers, or nurses, we cannot jeopardize the health and safety of our students. So a lot goes into those decisions. I would like to take a minute and thank our school administrators and our technology department, Mr. Ricky Padgett and his personnel. They had a short amount of time to give out Chromebooks this year and MiFi devices, but they did it in record time. So the day that I had to make that decision to go virtual in collaboration with all of you, we were ready. And our teachers did that and our principals did that without a blink of an eye. So I wanted to commend all of our staff at Bamberg 1 for a job well done that week, and we continued instruction, was able to do that with little interruption. I would also like to say publicly a public thank you to our parents and our community for understanding the decision that we had to make, and just hope that they know that those decisions are not made lightly. So, Also, I wanted to tell you that we received, in addition to your general education school report cards, we also get a special education school report cards. As you know, we are judged on a number of areas in special education. Most recently, we received findings, and I did not have a handout for this. I figured I'd just tell you because it came in an email to me. We had they let us know of our standings in indicators 8, 9, 10, 11, and 13, and also indicator 4. Now, those are for discipline. They're checking us to see if we are disproportionate or exercising unfair practices in disciplining students with disabilities, or if we have over-identification, meaning too many kids in special ed, or if we have too many kids under one category. For instance, African-American males in learning disabilities, or white females under OHI. So that's also a part of Office of Civil Rights. They judge us on those indicators as well. And I'm happy to report that Bamberg District 1 had no findings in any of those areas. We are doing fine. So I just wanted to let you know that that too is going public on the State Department's website, that we had no issues of concern or non-compliance in any of those categories. So I would like to say congratulations to our special education staff who work hard every day, and to Ms. Tucker as well for making sure that we stay in compliance with all of those indicators. Okay. Lastly, facilities update. I briefly mentioned this last month, but I figured I'd give you a more up-to-date report this month. As you know, we've completed our paving project that we began last year, this year. We covered all the potholes out in the parking lot, repaving, repainting lines, adding more student parking up closer to the building for safety for students, getting our handicap parking and closer accessibility to the building for individuals with disabilities that come to our athletic events and graduation activities. That has been completed. Also, as you know, we had inspection done on our football stadium, the bleachers, and after we had rains a couple of months ago, and a portion of the roof in the old changing rooms collapsed. That has since all been torn down, cleaned up. We're in the process now fencing those bleachers in and securing those so children can't go play under them and make it more safe for visitors, spectators, and the athletes themselves. We did have a structural engineer from Columbia to come and inspect those bleachers, and he came back after the work was done. And I provided you with a copy of his letter. It's from Timmerman and Associates. So he's kind of giving you feedback on the status of the bleachers and where we are now to make them safer. He's also giving you a drawing. Mr. Hires can probably explain this better than me. But what he is suggesting is that now that those all those old changing rooms and offices are torn out from under those bleachers, that we secure them a little bit more, but cross beams, steel cross beams underneath those bleachers. Now, I do want to tell the board this, and this is in our conversations with that structural engineer. Our bleachers are old. I believe you heard this report many years ago from Ms. Fording that really soon, and he's saying in this letter, probably within the next 5 years, the district's going to have to think about replacing those bleachers. But resealing them, cleaning them, doing the cross beams will make them more secure for spectators in the meantime. So just wanted to give you a copy of his inspection and report and to let you know we do have structural engineers driving us and advising us all along the way.
Okay, excuse me. Before you move on, are you finished with that piece of it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, before we move on to number 7, since we're still under number 6, I want to know, I would feel a lot more comfortable with regards to this resolution that we put it in the form of a motion. We all agree that we're going to move forward on it, but I'd like to put it in the form of a motion, and I would also like for it to be read out loud for the public to hear what it is. So, can someone put this in the form of a motion? Mr. Hires, can I pass this on to you, sir? Got it.
Are you going to make a motion? Or do you want
Yes,
to read it?
make a motion, or you can, I do want it to be read as well.
Okay. You want me to read the entire resolution then?
Yes, I would, if you can just put it in the form of a motion that you move to.
All right, I move that we support this resolution. It's a resolution of Bamberg School District 1 Board of Trustees urging the South Carolina General Assembly to repeal 2021-2022 budget proviso 1.108. Whereas South Carolina is among the top 10 states in the nation, having the highest number of COVID-19 cases per capita, averaging 5,500 cases a day, and whereas South Carolina Children's Hospital Collaborative recently stated that the number of children ages 0 to 17 in the state require hospitalization, including critical for COVID-19, is rising at an alarming rate, and whereas in Bamberg District 1, the number of students and staff who have tested positive so far this school year is 80, which has resulted in the quarantine of 463 students and staff. And whereas the Center of Disease Control and Prevention recommends universal indoor masking by all students age 2 and older, staff, teachers, and visitors to K through 12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. And whereas the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control strongly recommends universal mask wearing for teachers, staff, and parents in schools. And whereas local school boards and superintendents who ultimately bear the responsibility for the well-being of students and staff need flexibility, not limitations, when carefully weighing health and safety guidance at the state, local, and federal levels to make decisions for the students and staff in their communities. And whereas local school district leaders are best positioned to monitor and modify safety protocols and make the best decisions to keep students and employees safe. And whereas mitigation measures are vitally important to maintain in-person full-time education to ensure students do not fall behind scholastically or socially. And whereas Proviso 1.108 serves as a barrier for the school district leaders to consider every recommended mitigation measure available for the protection of the health and safety of students and staff. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Bamberg School District 1 Board of Trustees by this resolution strongly urges members of the South Carolina General Assembly to reconvene immediately and repeal Proviso 1.108. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution are being furnished to the members of the legislative delegation and communicated to our parents, businesses, and school supporters.
Thank you so much. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion on the floor and a second. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion passes. It's official. Here you go. You can have it now. Sorry about that, folks. I just want to make sure that we do that properly. Now you can move down to item number 7 on the agenda, which is your consolidation updates.
Okay, I'm going to combine items 7 and 8 on the agenda, if that's okay, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
As you all know, we continue to share services with Bamberg School District 2, and that has not changed. We are continuing to do that, and are working well together. But as far as consolidation updates, we're still waiting on a consolidated board to be named by our delegates. I know that Mrs. Walker, our board chair, along with Ms. Bonaparte, who's present tonight, board chair of Bamberg School District 2, and our district attorney, Mr. Charles Boykin, as well as our consolidation consultant, Dr. Dean Wetwer, remain in constant contact with our legislators. And recently, as last week, we had a brief meeting in our district office, our consolidation committee, basically, once again, reaching out to the legislators to encourage them to speed up the process for naming the Consolidated School Board. We are getting emails. They started probably early last week and maybe late the week before. Ms. Furr, myself, Dr. Whitworth, getting emails from Betsy Carpenter, who, as you know, is associate in Molly Spearman's office, talking about the next steps for consolidated districts to take. It involves basically the financial procedures, setting up bank accounts for the new district, billing accounts for the new district, personnel accounts, all that good stuff. But we're at a halt in advancing towards those next steps until our legislators name the Consolidated School Board. So that's basically, unless Ms. Walker would like to add to that. pretty much where we are at the moment.
That's where we are.
That's where we are.
Down to item number 9. For you. Yeah, 9.
As you all may recall, at our last board meeting, and that seems like it's been so long ago. However, we had the first reading of policy GCDGDD. This is an existing policy in our manual. However, as you know, I told you we were trying to bring our policies more up to date and changing a few of the verbiage in the policies. Nothing in practice, just the verbiage. We're aligning all of our employee personnel handbooks and the policies to read the same way. Some of our personnel handbooks were more up to date than some of our older policies. So we were adopting the verbiage in those to go into our policies. So this has to do with school year personnel and taking annual leave time. So just, this is me bringing it back to you this month to ask you again for the second reading, to ask you for the second reading, so that we can send this back to the school board and put it into effect with the new verbiage.
All right, board members, you have heard from Mrs. Brown, as well as having seen the proposal of this particular policy and the update. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to the second reading of this particular policy?
We'll make a motion about this.
Second reading.
I make a motion that we do the second reading on code GDD, professional support staff annual leave.
All right, we have a motion on the floor with regards to accepting the second reading. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of moving forward with the second reading, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Motion passes. We are now down to item number 10, which is the monthly financial report. And I will turn it over to Ms. Devon first.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm great. How are
Good.
y'all?
Good.
Good. You have your monthly financial report. As always, if y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Short and sweet.
I just have one quick question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
saw a few line items where there were like negatives for, like substitutes.
All right, that's because the substitutes are budgeted in certain line items. So you overspend in some, but the money's in another line item.
Okay.
We just budget it in certain places. We don't budget it everywhere.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that, with regards to the monthly financial report.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve the financial report as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor that we approve the monthly financial report as it's been presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of this, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it, the motion passes. We are now down to item number 11, which is visitors' comments. And we have signed up Mr. Ken Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. How are you?
I guess I just got more of a observation, I guess, concerning the optics of the drive-up vaccine clinic that you guys had sponsored, at least put on the webpage and the Facebook page. That I do understand age of consent is 18, but when you're talking medical and vaccine, it's 16. But it said children under the age of 15 need parental consent. What about the 15-year-olders? I mean, I would have thought in general, if you're going to be giving out vaccines or sponsoring it, every parent should have at least gotten a notification, especially since it's still an experimental use vaccine. So I would have probably not been too happy. Just say my daughter got the word and came home and say, hey, I got vaccinated. Why weren't we notified? Even though you can do something, doesn't mean you necessarily should. Just if she wanted to do it, she could. But I just saw children under the age of 15 need parental consent. I thought it was 16. And especially where it's experimental use, that could cause some problems. So So it was just something that I saw, thought I'd bring up at the board. When I saw it, I'm like, wow, that's awfully young for some kids, but 15, I don't believe is legal. I thought it was 16 for South Carolina, which I believe they're trying to change, but it still is 16 right now, so. And of course, with experimental use, you would have no recourse if anything went south. So I just thought I'd bring that up as far as optics from the parents. I think there are some parents out there that would have gotten their robocall and said, hey, we're giving out vaccines, and instead of just, hey, look at this on Facebook. Oh, you had to go to the webpage to see it. You know, a little bit more forward. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, we are down to item number 12, which is executive session. What is the pleasure of the board with regards to going into executive session?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss personal recommendation for resignations, personal recommendation for hires, student transfer requests.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor that we move into executive session, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? All right, hearing none, the ayes have it. We are now going to move into executive session to discuss personnel recommendations for resignations if needed, personnel recommendation for hires if needed, and student transfer requests if needed. We will now move into executive session. Thank you for coming. Hearing none, the ayes have it, and we are out of executive session. And we are now down to item number 13. And there was no items to discuss in executive session, so we are now down to item number 14. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'm moving to adjourn the meeting.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor, and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of adjourning this meeting, please signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Hearing none, the ayes have it. This meeting is adjourned.